Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I am Connor Williams here with the opposition view, Burnley versus Everton, joined by Joe Red of TurfCast. How are you, Joe?
Yeah, good. Thanks, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. The first question I've got here is Burnley are currently sat 16th as of recording this, one draw, two losses, plus a penalty shootout win against Newcastle in the Carabao Cup. What have you made of your start to the season so far?
It's been a little bit frustrating, to be honest. There's been patches. The first half against Brighton was very good. Second half, sat back and lost it. First 60 minutes against Liverpool, very good. But then Liverpool's quality, it just showed, and no real complaints about that one. Then the Leeds game, again, we were the better side. We should have won the game. So we should be a lot higher than what we are. But of course, there's frustrations there because of that. There's worries there because of that maybe, we don't have the fitness this season, or the players just aren't up for the fight this season, because it's the same story every season for Burnley, isn't it? The heroic underdogs. Maybe the players are getting a bit tired of that story. Who knows? I personally still think we'll be okay. But yeah, it's been a frustrating start, mainly because, the chances to win these games has been there, especially the Brighton game. We should have been 3-0 up at half-time in that Brighton game. Then for whatever reason, we sat back in the second half. They scored 2 goals that were exactly the same, just carbon copies of each other. And then the Leeds game, it was a bit of a battle. We managed to get in front, probably the better side on the balance of play for 40 minutes of the first half and 30 minutes of the second half. But then we just sat back, and that's, people will say, well, that's what Burnley are good at. They're good at holding out leads and stuff. But sometimes if you just sit back for half an hour, even if you're playing against someone as good as Liverpool, the quality is going to show, or you're playing against someone the like of Leeds who are just relentless and will not stop attacking you, will not stop pressing you, something's going to give. Like the Leeds goal was very lucky on their point of view. Charlie Taylor slipped, then the ball cannons into the box and Bamford just sticks a foot out and it goes in. So we should have really been carrying on. When we got that goal against Leeds, we should have just pushed for a second. Same with Brighton, push for that second. But yeah, been a frustrating one, but the signs are there that we can do okay.
Yeah, I personally think you'll be all right this season. You're not one of the ones I've got to go down. What have you made about Everton's start of the season so far from what you've seen?
Yeah, I'm impressed. I think you're up in 6th or 7th it is now. So doing quite well. A good win at Brighton. They've started the season well. Obviously, as I just said, they beat us on the first day of the season. And even though we were the better side and should have been 3-0 up, as I've just mentioned, in that second half, they were pretty decent. And Potter, for all his critics, and I'm one of them, to be fair, he saw that that they were getting overrun in midfield. He changed it around. He packed the midfield out, and they won that midfield battle, and then pressed us and then won the game that way. We couldn't react due to the lack of depth that the squad has, and had even more so at that point. But so that was a good win for you boys. I was impressed with the win against Southampton. How you came from behind and got the win. And then the Leeds game, I think we've just done a preview for my channel. And I said to you on that one, I think last season you'd have lost that Leeds game. You'd have probably lost that Southampton game as well. So yeah, I think there's signs of improvement there from Everton, and it's been an impressive start.
Yeah, I agree. There's a couple of games already this season I think last year we would have completely bowed out of. Obviously, we've just had the transfer window. It's now officially closed. Tell me your thoughts on Burnley's transfer window and your spending. I know some fans weren't too happy and were hoping for more investment. But I quite like the look of Cornet.
Yeah, well, it's unusual for Burnley fans to see actual signings coming in. We signed Nathan Collins, he's one for the future. Tarky's probably going to leave this summer. The likes of Everton and Leicester are probably his ambition there. His contract's going to run out, so he's definitely going to leave. It's looking like he's not going to sign a new one. I'll be happy if someone at some point in 6 months clips this bit up and puts some of that music on it to make me look silly because he's just signed a new contract. I'd be buzzing with that. So somebody please do that if that's the case, but I'd be very surprised. But he's looked good against Newcastle in the Cup anyway, and he's looked good in pre-season. So I do think he's a good signing. And for 12 million, I think we could easily do similar, do what we did with Michael Keane there, sell him on for quite a lot when it comes to it. Cornet, now we haven't signed a first team player that is good enough to slot straight into the first team since we signed Chris Wood in 2017. So that the corner capture is very, very good for us. He's a player with Champions League pedigree. He scored 2 goals against Man City last season or the season before. Scored a goal against them another season as well in the Champions League. He's played at a decent-sized club in France, let's be honest. They're a good side. I am very surprised we managed to get that one over the line. Very, very surprised. As soon as I saw the links, I was putting it out on the page, thinking not of it, because you see it all the time. Then all of a sudden, we've ended up capturing him. So, yeah, very, very surprised with that one. But Connor Roberts as well. Good right back, good full back. Again, he's good at getting forward. He's got a whip on him, which is what we need. We need players that have good crosses, simply to get the ball to Chris Wood's head. Because if you put the ball on Chris Wood's head, he's similar to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Chances are it's going in the back of the net. So yeah, very happy with our business. If I'm being honest with you, I'm very happy. It's a long time since I've sat down after a transfer window and looked at 3 good acquisitions. Normally, it's Dale Stevens on the final day of the season, or it's, Josh Brownhill. I don't get me wrong, I love Josh Brownhill, but again, when he was brought in, he's one for the future. He's ended up breaking his way into the first team a lot earlier than anticipated, to be fair, and he's very, very good, and I do really like him. But to bring in a player of, who plays for his country, obviously he's at Ivory Coast, he's been playing for them this week, with Champions League pedigree, that took ages to get over the line and for quite a few bob, then yeah, it's very, very unusual for a Burnley fan, that.
And obviously, he's gone viral for his pointing at the club badge.
Yeah. It was funny that, because we did it with the Astro Pay sign. There's that there as well. It's very dark in here, actually. I don't know if you can see it. But I think it's just sponsor appeasement. I don't get me wrong. I milked it on the TurfCast page as well, for all it's worth. But it's just what clubs do these days, isn't it? Sponsor appeasement. I think when we announced a new kit, they showed all the players sort of like pointing at the unwore badge like that and pointing at the Astro Pay and all that. But yeah, it was funny, weren't it? It was funny.
Yeah, it certainly made me chuckle a bit when I saw it. So obviously we've mentioned the transfer window. What do you make of the business we've done this season? Because it's quite similar. Our fans aren't quite happy about the sort of lack of investment this summer.
Yeah, well, I think with you boys, I think you're in a similar position to us. You just need a bit of depth, and we're in a position where we need a bit of depth. I don't know how you've got into the position, but it's just been years of neglect for us from the former chairman. Like I said, we're only bringing in like a player that's either too old or too young to go into the team. Now, that's all we've had for the last 4 or 5 seasons since the Chris Wood signing, as I've just mentioned. So players have been like leaving, and we've not been replacing them. So it's something that we've needed, but yeah, it's a similar sort of thing for you. I think you needed a bit more investment just to try and help that depth. But I think with a club like us, he can't spend the sort of money that some clubs can. And to be fair, I think you're in a similar position. Obviously, Everton aren't really known for the riches, so I think you're in a similar position. So it can't all be done in one transfer window. So fingers crossed. You've brought in Gray, as we've spoken about on the other one, and he's done very, very well. So. Yeah, I think you've got to be happy with that signing, but yeah, I can see why you would have wanted more for depth.
Yeah, I think from our point of view, the problem is we had a bit of money when the new owner came in and was just scattergunned it up the wall on 28, 29-year-olds, giving them big contracts. And then when they don't work out, are struggling to sell big contract 29-year-old players. But not a problem. Let us know first. Next question I have is, who's your danger man? Who should we look out for? Obviously, you've mentioned Chris Wood, and he's one that I'm a little bit concerned about, especially against our centre backs. Yerry Mina, I think that'd be a good tussle. Mason Holgate, I think he's going to bully. But let us know, a couple of your danger men.
Well, obviously, one you'll know very well is Dwight McNeil. Scored an absolute screamer against you last season. He is the only, this is the first time I've done a podcast or a pre-game show, should I say, since we've signed Maxwell Cornet. But the bit I always talk about here is I always say he's the only creative player that we've got. He's the only player that's going to create anything. But now we have Maxwell. So who knows? I doubt we'll see Maxwell at the weekend. So I wouldn't worry too much about him. But I think with Dwight McNeil, like I said, yes, he is the only creative player that we've got. We need him for 100% of our creativity. Get the ball to Dwight. He drags us up the pitch, tries to get it out wide or whip it into Woody or cut inside on his left as he did last season and fire it in the top corner. So fingers crossed on that. That's pretty much it, really. Vidra can play well, but he's not been starting this season. I would be starting Vidra over Barnes and Jay with Woody up top. I think Woody works brilliantly with Vidra up top, and I think that if you look at what the games that Wood scored goals in last season, that's proven. But yeah, that's pretty much it, mate. There's not much creativity in that Burnley side. It's Dwight McNeil and Chris Wood, and that's obviously the supply line. It's get the ball to Dwight, hopefully get it to Chris Wood. With a lot, the fullbacks do a lot of it as well, and the wingers. Goodmanson's had an okay start to the season without really doing anything of real note. He's been playing okay in the games. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Maxwell's on the bench or not, and maybe he gets that 15 minutes and he's just this sensational Ronaldo, Messi type player. But I doubt it somehow. But yeah, it's Dwight and Woody. That's all we've got, to be honest.
Well, you mentioned Dwight McNeil. Not only will we know him from obviously the goal last season, but he's a player we've been linked with quite heavily over the summer. He was apparently very high on Rafa Benitez's wish list, which when you're on about his delivery, you can sort of understand why. How much would you say was a fair valuation for Dwight McNeil, and how important is he to Burnley? Because a couple of reports were trying to say we were trying to offer you, I think it was like 30 million for him, which I thought you as a club surely value him as a lot more than that.
Yeah, I think it's weird because as a Burnley fan, you don't really vision you're selling players for 50, 60 million, and I wouldn't for one second say that Dwight is there. I think you've got to add at least 10 onto that 30 to be around there. And some people might scoff at that and sort of like say, well, he's never really done anything. He needs to show it at a bigger club. But Ben White is a good defender. For me, he wasn't even the best defender at Brighton last season, but yet he's going for 50 million quid. You've got to look at these sort of scenarios and be like, well, if they're going for that, then our players should go for this. So 40 million minimum for me. Do I think Burnley will hold out for 40 million if a bidding war started? No, I do not. I think they'd sell pretty much probably 30. So if that rumours were true and you offered 30, I'm not sure what went on there. But we would be screwed without him. Like I said, he is the only creative player that we've got. Obviously, Maxwell pending coming in, he might do well. But yeah, I think it'd be strange for us to sell him now. Or should I say in January? Obviously, the window's closed because we've just got Maxwell in now. It sounds like we could have a decent sort of like attacking front three here with Dwight on the left, Maxwell on the right, and them two swapping wings, for example, getting crosses into Woody's head, and hopefully Vids is in there as well, maybe in a number 10 role or whatever. Some people actually wouldn't mind seeing Dwight in a number 10 role. Some people have said wing back. I just think, and a good old fashioned chalk on his boots winger, getting him out wide, cutting inside if he needs to, as he did last season against you boys, or also getting some balls in. That's where he's at his best. So yeah, he's probably one of, if not the most important player in the Burnley squad at the minute, and that's quite a lot to say he's so young.
Yeah, he's. I was a couple of Everton fans were dubious on him for that reason, and for some reason, a couple of fans thought he was going to be slow. I've got a mate who's a Burnley fan who said he's not slow. Don't get me wrong. He said he wasn't. He's not a blistering pace type of player, but he's certainly not slow. The way some people were making out on Twitter, you'd have thought we'd made a bid for Robbie Brady instead, but one of those, I guess. You can never please everyone. Tell us a little bit more about, obviously we've done your danger man. Tell us a little bit more about the Everton players you don't look forward to coming up against.
Richarlison's obviously the main one for me. He's got bags of ability, he's got tricks, he can beat men, he can get the ball in and he can score goals. He's very, very good. DCL as well. I've always liked him. I liked him even as a youngster when he first burst onto the scene all them years ago now. I liked him then. He just seems to be getting better. Some fans again might scoff at it, but I always see like him as a very similar sort of player to Chris Wood. Strong, good in the air, physical, likes a battle, can score with his head. Probably not but you don't want him running onto a pass when it's one-on-one. It's similar, exactly. You could say that exact same thing about Chris Wood. So if I could choose anyone in the Everton lineup in the Burnley side, it would probably be Richarlison because of the lack of creativity. But if you could envision a front two of Chris Wood and DCL, that would absolutely terrorise some of them big six defences, and all the fans would be crying on Twitter. It'd be absolutely delicious.
Yeah, it would. Quite funnily, I think you're going to really upset Arsenal when you play them in a couple of weeks. I think Brentford showed that the defenders aren't very good with aerial presence, and I think Chris Wood's going to have the time of his life against Ben White. Let us know your likely lineup, though. How do you think you're going to set up? Obviously, you mentioned you think Cornet might be on the bench.
Yeah, there's been a few sort of like noises from Daesh that would suggest that he might not be involved. He might not even be on the bench at the weekend, or should I say Monday, because he mentioned something about getting him settled in first. There's been a comment about him being assessed. So I would be surprised to see him there. He might even just be setting himself up in a Cheshire mansion somewhere, ready for his life in the northwest, and with it on his 75-inch OLED telly, probably bigger than that, 150-inch. So I doubt he'll be there, if I'm being honest. The lineup, you can pretty much always get Burnley's lineup spot on. Probably a little bit more difficult now. We've brought in a few players, but it's going to be Nick Pope in goal. It's going to be Charlie Taylor left back. It's going to be Tarky, Ben Mee, and then Matthew Lawton. Wings, I'd have Dwight on the left. Goodmanson on the right, because it's looking like Cornet isn't going to play. And then in the middle is probably one of the only areas where you can sometimes get it wrong. It's probably going to be Westwood, and I would have Josh Brownhill in there with him. We got a lot of joy against you boys last year because we pressed you. I know it's a different manager now and a different style, so Daesh might look at it differently. But we got some joy of you because we pressed you high, we pressed you well, and Josh Brownhill is the best midfielder we have off the ball. On the ball is probably the worst. But if we're going to try and replicate what we did last season, it's probably going to be Brownhill in there to press, Westwood in there to get on the ball and pass it out to Dwight or Woody. Up top, Woody, and for me, Vidra, knowing Dash, he'll play Ashley Barnes. Don't get me wrong, I love Ashley Barnes. He's been at the club for years, and I've said on my own podcast recently that he's getting some unnecessary stick on Twitter because he's been at the club for so long. If anyone at the club, apart from Ben Mee, is a modern-day legend, it's probably going to be Ashley Barnes. He's a shithouse. He loves upsetting people. He loves getting his head in. I absolutely love him for it, but I won't be starting him anymore. I think he's the wrong side of 30-odd. I think he's 33, 34 now. Good age though, he's 33. He's not wrong with being 33. But I'd have Vidra up top. Woody works so much better with Vidra. Vidra's movement off the ball is a lot more. It creates space. It drags defenders out for Woody to then utilise that space. So for me, I'd have Vidra, but it's probably going to be Barnes. But hopefully Dash is a bit brave and he selects Vidra and Brownhill.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. Give us your score prediction. How do you think it's going to play out?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough one for us. I think you boys, you've had a good start to the season. You'll be looking up the table rather than down. Especially with the game being on Monday, both sets of fans will know where they will be come the end of the match week if they win that game. You boys could even be, in the Champions League places if, results go your way. So I think you'll be looking up the table. I think you'll want revenge on last season as well. I'm not really sure how much players really pay attention to stuff like that, but I know fans probably will. So I'm going to go 2-0 Everton. I think you'll just have too much for us. I think it'll be a very tight first 45, and then similar to the game we had against Liverpool. I think the quality will just show. An early goal for you could really open us up, but I think we'll be all right in that sense. I think we'll defend well, be compact, and then it'll just crack in the end, similar to what it's done pretty much every game this season. So 2-0 Everton.
Well, I said 1-0 on your channel. I'm going to stick with that. My last question is just a little bit of fun. It's a little bit of a random one. What's your go-to meal deal? Your main, your snack, and your drink?
I've not had a meal deal for years. I don't know. Can you still get them? What's them little packets of chicken called? Fridge Raiders. Do you still get them?
Yeah,
Can you still get them at meal deal? Right. So it'd be them as is that the snack or is that the main?
That's the snack.
That's the snack, right? I'd have them. I'd have a Coke Zero for the drink. Can I get something like chicken pasta for the main? Is that still a deal, or does it have to be a butter? Yeah, that's what I do. It's very chicken heavy. I'll give you that. It's very chicken heavy, but it's good. It's full of protein. As you can tell, I'm absolutely ripped. No, I'm joking. But I have recently started going to the gym, so I've recently started trying to watch what I eat a bit more, not to be all boring. So I don't want to overload on too much carbs. Obviously, if if you're getting, and I appreciate his carbs in pasta, but he's pretty much everything is carb heavy in that meal deal. So that's why I'd have my chicken as the snack, and Coke Zero. Not much sugar in it, so happy days. There you go. That's what I'd have.
Nice choice. Well, that is everything we got time for today. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below your thoughts on the Burnley game and your predictions. Go check out Joe and TurfCast as well on Twitter. I'm sure the links will be in the description down below, as well as our channels. And don't forget, if you want any Everton merchandise, you can buy it through the Everton direct link in the description down below. And it helps the channel out massively, and we really appreciate it.